Quick question. If Nami wanted you to call her mommy, would you accept or refuse? Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, let's get to the video. On a gloomy and chaotic battlefield, we are introduced to this world by our protagonist. Just like the death-filled field or the heavy clouds darkening the sky, our protagonist's tone is somber and heavy. Like a cliché from web novels or manga, one day, when he opened his eyes, he was already in a medieval fantasy world. He didn't know how it happened. Maybe Truck-kun paid him a visit, or a thick mommy sat on his face, suffocating him to death. Anyway, he fought desperately for survival, even becoming a mercenary, slashing enemies again and again just to stay alive. The protagonist's monologue is interrupted when a cunning enemy sacrifices himself to stop his rampage. Holding the protagonist down, the enemy creates an opening for his partner, who sneaks up, thirsty for blood. Before the barbarian can land his attack, a fierce redhead on a majestic steed cuts him down, saving our protagonist. She reminds him to stay focused. Losing concentration on the battlefield means certain death. Raising her sword high, she orders the trumpets to sound, signaling the real start of the desperate battle. As forces clash, drawing blood and ending lives, our protagonist continues his monologue, wishing only to survive. We get a stunning shot of him sitting on a rock, surrounded by corpses, bathed in the rays of a setting sun. It's easy to see why he chose that moment for his monologue. The scene is epic. Stepping on the head of a fallen enemy, the redhead congratulates him for surviving again. Approaching him closely, she tenderly tells him to take care of his face and not let his handsome features get hurt. Finally, a protagonist who gets the girl from the start. He's definitely clapping the boss. I'm so jealous. Their tender moment is interrupted by the rain, bringing the protagonist back to reality. The mysterious Amazonian mommy reassures him, calling him Aaron and telling him she likes the rain. Though her face is hidden, we know she's naturally charming. Just look at those lips. In the present, on a rainy day similar to the one in his memories, Aaron stands in the rain, recalling the words of his beloved. She had wanted to go east when the war ended, to a place where it rained often, and she asked him not to forget her. Now, considerably more ragged and worn by life, Aaron stands under the shelter of a building, catching raindrops in his hand. His eyes are hollow, and a faint stubble lines his chin. A man who's clearly been through a lot. His moment of reflection is cut short by a loud whistle, and the culprit shouts at the marching guards, instructing them to catch an escaped criminal. Two men, one with brown hair, the other with black, join Aaron under the shelter, calling him captain. Aaron asks where the other members are, and they tell him they're on their way. The brown-haired man expresses surprise that the gentle Hans caused such a big incident, while the black-haired man scoffs, saying he always knew Hans was trouble. He suggests that Hans, being a mage, probably signed a contract with a demon. At the mention of demons, Aaron pauses to think. The brown-haired man ignores the accusation and teases the black-haired man, saying he's just mad that Hans took the title of most handsome. The black-haired man argues that the title is still his. No one took it away. Tired of their bickering, Aaron walks away, leaving the two idiots to their argument. Watching him go, the brown-haired man jokes that Hans's new nickname should be Hans, who's handsome even if only his head is left. Ignoring them, Aaron reflects that Hans would probably be hanged if caught. At the Casertic Outer Fortress Guard headquarters, Aaron meets with Manuel, the guard commander. The chubby, scheming man asks why Aaron is late, and Aaron replies that he overslept. Manuel, striking a devious pose, questions Aaron about his connection to Hans. Through a flashback, we learn that Aaron and Hans were once close. Hans used to call him brother, and they remained friendly even when Hans entered the Magic Academy. But Aaron downplays their relationship, saying they barely exchanged greetings. Walking closer, Manuel tells Aaron that the incident isn't simple. It involves a lord's daughter, and Hans stole something he shouldn't have. Looks like Hans is a lady killer too, stealing a noble's daughter. This story is full of rogues. Tapping Aaron on the arm, Manuel informs him that capturing Hans would please the Lord. Manuel may be a short king, but we've got to show some love for him. He knows how to play the game. Switching to a more intense tone, Manuel warns Aaron that Hans must be brought in dead or alive. Aaron agrees to do his best, though he silently laments that, because of Hans, he might lose his own head if things go south. Brown Hair calls out, announcing that Kasserdik Outer Fortress Guard Unit 4 has assembled. The full squad is revealed, and as expected, they look like a mismatched bunch, clumsy yet dangerous. The squad marches through the slums of District 7, enduring the rain. Blackhair grumbles about how filthy the place is, doubting Hans would hide there. Brownhair agrees, joking that Hans has a weak stomach and would be running around looking for a toilet in this mess. Having heard enough, Aaron turns to them with a menacing look, warning them to shut their mouths. He's tired of medieval guys talking about drinks when their lives are on the line. Spotting a suspicious figure sitting in an alley, Aaron instructs him to remove his hood for identification, his hand on the hilt of his sword. The hooded figure laughs menacingly, calling Aaron by name and preparing for a reunion. Before he can say more, Aaron clocks him in the jaw, sending him crashing into the mud. In a chilling tone, Aaron asks if the figure was the one causing trouble. The figure, confused, says he's just a herbalist reporting a theft. Aaron, realizing his mistake, casually remarks that he looked familiar. The herbalist, now aggrieved, curses about the shitty day he's having. First, his herbs were stolen, and now the guards are hitting him. He wonders why someone would steal his stash of grimroot, a common plant. Aaron, sensing something suspicious, asks which way the thief went. We fast forward to a lone figure leaning against an alley wall, panting and bleeding. Wincing in pain, the figure is startled when Aaron's voice calls out from behind. Standing tall, Aaron asks why Hans, who always kept things clean, had cut off his own hand. Telling him it's over, Aaron instructs Hans to surrender while he's still being nice. But Hans isn't giving up. Chanting a spell, he conjures a massive water ball from the rain-soaked ground. Aaron curses at the sight, shocked by the size of the magic. Apologizing, Hans attacks, sending the water ball hurtling toward Aaron. Aaron barely holds his ground, but Hans prepares another spell, conjuring an even larger water ball. Fed up, Aaron charges forward with blinding speed, closing the distance to engage Hans in close combat. Hans, shocked, rushes to finish his spell, but Aaron clocks him again, canceling the magic. With a menacing look, Aaron swings his sword, ready to end Hans's life. Powerless, Hans sheds a tear, calling Aaron brother one last time. Hearing the word brother, Aaron stops, leaving only a shallow wound across Hans's neck. Hans asks if Aaron will spare him, but Aaron ignores the question, checking for a demon's mark near Hans's heart. Finding none, he asks why Hans did something so stupid without being a demon's minion. Hans replies that it's hard to explain now, but someday Aaron will understand. Frustrated, Aaron sighs. He pours a healing potion on Hans's wounds, eliciting a scream, and tells him to follow. As they walk, Aaron reflects on whether losing a hand is punishment enough for Hans's crimes. Ultimately, he concludes it's not up to him. This medieval world deals only in guilt or innocence. At the secret passage, Aaron tells Hans to get lost. Hans starts to speak, but Aaron cuts him off with a punch to the face. With a menacing gaze, he tells Hans to get into the hole and disappear. Hans, gathering himself, expresses his thanks, calling Aaron brother again. As Hans walks away, Aaron reminds him not to call him that. We learn that in the small fortress of the Kasserdik eastern frontier, Hans completely disappeared. The handsome Hans, the kind Hans, the friendly Hans. Those were all names people used to call him. The scene shows a woman carrying her laundry back to the house, enjoying the morning sunshine. A gentle breeze, however, sweeps her underwear away. As she helplessly watches it fly off, we are informed that all those nicknames were used to describe Kasserdik's ladies' underwear thief. Turns out, Hans was a serial pervert, stealing women's underwear. What a down-bad man of culture. In this medieval world, where cleanliness, law, and ethics are utterly primitive, our protagonist is a guard captain, doing his best to survive in this damned chaotic world.